welcome to episode 2 of Shooting Storrs. As always, I'm Connor. We got Matt and Andrew. And for our second guest, our first episode did very well at Rodney Purvis. Episode 2, we got Mr. Jerome Dyson. Jerome, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We appreciate you coming on. I know we all have busy schedules, so it's tough to figure out a time, but we got it done. So I guess we'll just start right there. Obviously, you're no offense, you're getting up there. You celebrated your 37th birthday. So this past week. So happy birthday to you. So where are you right now in your basketball life? Are you still playing somewhere? Are you past that? Where are you at right now?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Birthday wishes. Yeah, I kind of stopped playing about what's that when COVID happened about 21 or something like that. But I still love the game. Since then I've been coaching and I've been training a great group of guys. And just recently I got asked to be JV head coach. So that may be a new route that I'll be pursuing soon. So kind of few of the things that's going on in my life right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys once they're done playing, they love the game. They want to get into coaching. I'm happy you got that JV offer. You said you're in Colorado, right?
Yep, I'm in Colorado. Yep, Aurora, Colorado. I'm about 15, 20 minutes from the airport.
It's awesome. And obviously you're kind of out west, Colorado, we'll call it west. Obviously the Huskies, they played
Yeah.
out in Phoenix. Were you out in Phoenix? I don't recall if you were.
Yeah. I was out there. I got an eighth grader. So
Hmm.
I took him out, my son's Zayden. We went out there for the final game. It was uh tremendous, like in all aspects, getting to show my son kind of the path that, you gotta walk to get to greatness. And being able to be around a lot of my brothers, and my brothers in arms, that the guys that some of the guys that I battle with, and some of the guys who paved the way for me, and some of the guys that I paved the way for.
And you mentioned your son. Not sure how old he is, but does he ever, come to you and talk to you about, possibly following in your footsteps, wanting to be just as good as his dad was?
Yeah. I think he definitely has the aspirations. And like I said, with me being training, he's in the gym with me almost, 3, 4 times a week. And so, it's a reps and getting that repetition and understanding that each day is a chance to get better and to be better. And so, those are kind of one of the things that I like to install in him, and not me more me pushing him and him wanting it. Finding that mixed comfortable ground.
And we also just mentioned the Final Four this year. Also last year out in Houston. How has it been these past 2 years? Out west, obviously last one in Houston, this one in Arizona. What has that been like to just kind of see these young guys kind of, keep the tradition going?
It's been great. To see yourself in the same, footsteps and footprints that, like I said, the guys that before me, and the guys that after me, that still continuing that same march that that we were been doing. Um, and for me, personally, just not able to actually get to that point, where we can battle for that national championship, but uh, understanding that this is a brotherhood and we're all a part of this.
And speaking of these current teams, now obviously you played under the legendary head coach Jim Calhoun, and a lot of people I've seen have compared him to Dan Hurley. And from your eyes, do you see any similarities between Coach Hurley and Coach Calhoun?
Yeah, I do. I think for me the number one thing comes out is the fight and the energy that they give. Some people like to say is, animation on sideline, but that's somebody that's gonna be in there that's fighting for you, that has the same goals and the aspirations that you have. And for somebody on your sideline like that, that's great.
Yeah, so we can kind of just start with your UConn career and work our way. Obviously, you came in the year after. '06 was a phenomenal year for the Huskies, one of their best ever that ended the title. You lead the team in scoring as a freshman. What was that like? I was looking it up. You were around the top 50 guy in the class, but coming into a team that the year before won 30 something games, and all of a sudden you're thrown right in the fire. You started 30 games as a freshman for a pretty historic program at that point. What was that like? Just the adjustment from high school into college playing for Calhoun?
Well, I think that's one of the things that they saw in me. I mean, me just number one being a competitor. And I think that's one of my biggest things that I bring to the table, is that I'm going to compete each and every night, and try to put my best there each and every with my energy, number one, and the way that I attack the basket, and just mostly my energy that I bring on the floor. And kind of back to your other question about coming in as a freshman. I knew kind of what to expect going in. I was there at that Final Four game against George Mason, um, and as a freshman coming in at that point, we already knew that those 8 guys were leaving, and that 8 guys had to come in to fill those 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 uh those shoes that those guys had left behind. They had something that they didn't finish. I mean, that was another group of guys that should have had another national championship. And so coming in, I mean, I was already electrified from that. Just being in that scene, and seeing what it takes to even get to that point. And so me coming in, I played my game, and let everything else figure it out.
In your freshman year, '06, '07, this was a, tough year in the Big East. This wasn't just some like, random, like the Big East was sort of primed, around this time. And you as a
Yeah.
freshman coming in and, playing this type of competition, do you feel like that, helped you a lot as a ball player?
It definitely did. I think Big East is hands down number one. The competition that we faced each and every night was different. Um, there wasn't any fall off games. There wasn't any game that you can look on the schedule and mark off as a win. Each and every night we had to battle. It's a a lot of players, that came from our class and the Big East class, that represented the NBA and represented overseas basketball. And so those guys definitely prepared me. And like I said, it was a battle. Like, that's how we got our toughness from each and every night battling, having to go on the road. Even at home, protecting our home court each night was a battle.
And we talk about the Big East. Obviously the competition was very tough, but you had some fantastic teammates as well. You got to play with a lot of great guys. Obviously a younger Kemba Walker, Jeff Adrian, AJ Price, Ashim to beat, just to name a few. What
Mhm.
was that like, being able to, go out to battle along with these guys and, either teach them or learn from them?
It was great. Because I think as Coach Calhoun, he built something very great there. And older guys would always come in, and we would get to play against them, and talk to them, understand the game. And I think as time went on, we we were able to do the same things for our guys coming in. The one thing I would say for us, it was a hard freshman group because we had only Jeff and AJ there coming back. I mean, also Craig Austri. But we, as that freshman group coming in, it was tough because we didn't have a lot of, you know, even a lot of playing time minutes ahead of us because AJ had come off of a lot of injury, and then he had the brain thing. So as far as Craig and Jeff were the really two guys that had a lot of game time, Big East experience, tournament experience, and so that was one of the things that our group had to come in and kind of soak up a lot of that, how to win in tough games, how to go on the road against tough crowds, because you wouldn't believe how some of these opposing arenas were, as far as all the antics going in the background. So yeah, it's been, as I look back now about the journey, it has been great to come into a program where we have so many well defined players that can come back and give us so much knowledge to the game.
Now, I know you just mentioned the having to deal with the antics on the road and like learning how to deal with that. And speaking of learning, was there any one of your teammates that you learned the most from? And it doesn't even have to be one of your teammates. It could be somebody from before, like somebody like Rashad Anderson or Talik Brown or somebody like that. Because I don't know if you saw, but guys like Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton come in and talk to the current team. So was there anybody who you can point out that you learned the most from over the course of your career at UConn?
Uh, the most that I learned, I really got to soak up a lot from everybody. I mean, as like you said, with Ray Allen, he would come in as me being a shooting guard there. I learned a lot, just mechanics and shooting form and placement of the ball and stuff like that. But another name that you brought up, Talik Brown, he was around us a lot. He used to come and play with us in the summers, and I think I learned a lot from him also, just being in the summers there playing as I transitioned from being a shooting guard to the point guard, and as I turned professional, just understanding and seeing the floor and stuff like that. There was so much that the guys, even from the coaches, coaches even back then that I kind of talk to now, like as far as like I'm transitioning now, like I said, into my coaching. Uh, I've learned just looking at film, even just going back and looking at games and seeing how some guys are handling different situations on the floor. So I've I've been a sponge, and I continue to try to be that sponge now, as I go from player to a development guy and coaching guy.
And that's the best thing about UConn is that our guys never forget where they came from, and they're always ready to help the next group. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing that I've been trying to, as I've transitioned from being to pro, to my coaching and development stage, is just understanding that I got a lot of information that that I can give out, and if the guys want it, I've been working with a lot of guys, and now I understand that there's a lot of information that a professional can, and if I was just thinking if I had this when, when I was at this point, an eighth grader or sixth, seventh grader coming in, that I had a chance to work with a pro, that I would have loved it.
You're just getting into coaching. You mentioned the sixth, seventh, eighth grader. Is that like the level you want to work at, or is there an eventual goal to work up to like college level?
No, there's not. But I understand that I kind of more at that level that the guys are more absorbent and they want to seek out the information. But I work with all ages. I got a second grader, a fourth grader. I work with some high school guys. So like I said, being a sponge, I like guys who are sponges and want to get into the gym with me.
Next up, we're gonna keep on moving on in your UConn career. We're
All
gonna
right.
go to that 2009 team. Obviously, I don't have to explain it to you. You know the whole story. You guys
Yeah.
start incredible, then unfortunately you go down with that season-ending injury. The team still makes the Final Four, but ultimately comes up short. Obviously, you can play the what if game all you want, but do you think
Yeah.
about it? How often do you think about it? Like if I was there with the talent we got, like Price, Adrian to beat freshman Kemba. I mean, obviously you can't really regret it because it's an injury, it's something you can do, but like, do you ever think about that?
Uh, I definitely do. Yeah, it's because like it's always the the topic. You know, how do I feel, and what if there's something that I would have done different. But that group of guys were great, and what we were able to do was still tremendous. And as I think back, as I get that injury against at home against Syracuse, I can still like remember it like play by play. Fall to the ground, get back up, fall again, because I can't walk. And then take to the locker room, and they knew right away what it was, and it was hard because I tell everybody I had this talk right before the game. I'm in the locker room with the guys, talking to them. You're like everybody, kind of have a conversation about next year. At that point we already seeing names go up on a draft board. And I'm telling guys, yeah, this is my last year. I'm not coming back. My last year. 20, I guess maybe 25 minutes later, I'm down on the ground, and all of that changes, very fast. So it's hard, like you said, to play that what ifs, with that. But I think where we were at that point as a team, where we had to come from as freshmen, that we were on the point of doing, something great.
And you mentioned wanting, to fulfill that dream of going to the NBA, going pro, despite the injury, you did have a short stint in the NBA. You did have success, professionally with basketball. What is that kind of mindset, you have to go to after an injury like that, to, keep going and keep working hard?
Uh, it's hard. It definitely wasn't easy. Because as as that next year comes along, I get back. Um, I'm having a great beginning to that season. And then we don't finish the season, the way that we should have. I think we ended up in NIT that my senior year. And then I went undrafted. But at that time, I'm in there with talking to, different teams as I go through like some, the interviews process of some, and they're kind of talking to me like, why didn't you come out last year, with the rest of your guys? And some teams talking about like, we would still would have drafted you. You were having a great season, even coming back after that. And I think that probably was the toughest pill for me to swallow, because I didn't have that. I didn't have that type of advisement in my corner at the time, to even excuse me, to even allow me to understand that I even had that opportunity. Um, and so I talk about getting to the NBA. That's not it wasn't an easy path, because after that, I went D League. I did D League for 2 years, and then like I got my call up, and then injury hit me. Injury hit me again. Very last game of the season, I get a bone bruise to my ankle. I think I was out maybe 3.5, 4 months for a bone bruise to my ankle. And I got an unguaranteed contract at the end of the season. I get waived and well, first I get traded and then I get waived. Um, and that kind of how it went after that. Got traded, waived, had a shitty agent at the time, and one thing I ended up overseas, come back summer league, get hurt. Next summer league, get hurt again. So I was like, hey, I'm done with the NBA thing. I'm gonna just continue to go over here and play overseas. I was able to get a lot of championships, scoring title, able to allow my family to see the world. So as I look back, would I change it? Would I not? I don't know, but I have a great life as it is, and able to accomplish a lot of great things.
We always ask every episode the same question. We kind of want to, lighten the mood up a little bit. Obviously,
Yes.
you
No, you're all right. No, you got it.
you
Like I said, I'm in a great space now. Like
yeah.
everything is great. Like I still love the game of basketball, and it's brought me to places that a lot of people haven't, or won't be able to say that they could. So I'm doing very good.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And we want to know, you played 4 years at UConn. We could even extend this to, your stint with the Hornets, obviously. Emeka Okafor was on that team, so you guys had
Yes.
a couple games together, which was definitely, a great experience. But who would you say, throughout your 4 years, and we'll go with your short stint in the NBA on this one too. Who was the funniest teammate that you had? Like, who would walk into the locker room and the vibe would just kind of, switch, have everybody laugh and improve the mood?
What I would say is I'm gonna go with James Harden. I was with the Thunder, like I said. I went undrafted. They were thinking about drafting me at that time, and they wanted me to. That's whose D League I ended up playing with. So that first year I came in, they had me. I was on the preseason roster. So I was preseason games and traveling with the team and whatnot. But James is probably the funniest one to me. That was at the time when that group was together. You had Russ, you had KD. KD is another guy that's from the same area as I am. And so I was able to click with those guys because I knew him. I had played against the guys in camps and stuff like that because we were all the same, same age. But definitely James, because like you said, on the road, I used to whoop those guys up in FIFA when we played bring the console on the road. So the conversations that we used to have, and in the hotel room on the road, beating those guys up was pretty funny.
See, we've asked that question to every single guest we've had, and we've never gotten an NBA answer before. It's always been like, I feel like every time it's been like somebody who was on the bench, but they were just funny. But to hear James Harden, like that's pretty interesting.
Man, yeah, you're right. Like you gotta go back. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Blu-ray. It's a card game. And so we used to play those also on the plane rides from city to city. And man, those card games are some of the funniest because you get some guys in there that start losing some money, and it gets very funny.
And I just have one more for you. I actually live in the same state that you played high school basketball in, which is New Hampshire. And I
Yeah,
just want to know what made you want to come play basketball in New Hampshire. If I'm not mistaken, you went to Proctor Academy, right?
Proctor Academy. Yep.
Yeah. So what made you want to go play basketball in the tiny state of New Hampshire?
Um, it wasn't necessarily me going for, I guess, basketball. It was me just going because I needed to get myself situated as far as me outside of basketball, get away from distractions and focus on school, which is the most important thing. That's gonna be able to make my vision actually come true. And so choosing Proctor was the best decision of my young life that propelled me into being who I am today. I was a great athlete, but I thought that I don't really understand. I don't think I really understood or thought that school wasn't important, but I didn't really have anybody there telling me that this is what I needed to do and this is the way that I had to get there, not just averaging 30 points.
Think we got one more question here, then we'll let you go. Obviously,
All right.
the college basketball, all college sports is a lot different than when you played. We got
Mhm.
NIL, transfer portal. What's your opinion on all that? Obviously, and the portal alone, like there's what, it's over 2,000 kids this past year. It's just a lot of moving parts. What's your whole opinion on that?
Um, I'm torn, from from both ways. I think NIL is great, because it helps the guys who are in college. For for instance, I would just talk about myself. I mean, I can't really talk about a lot of other guys, but it's hard financially for a single mother to provide for their college students, and also provide for the home that they have back, where we are from or where we actually live. Mom, has to take care of the house and stuff like that. And then also have to worry about me because, I still gotta, I gotta eat, I gotta get clothes, I got this and that. It's not like, at that point, how many college athletes can go and get a job, that and then go into the locker room and perform, and then go into the classroom and also perform. So I really think that it's a great thing for those guys because to not have to worry about what you're gonna eat at night, or to not worry about if you can go and get some winter clothes, because stores is extremely cold, you know, in the winter. So it's like it's a lot of that's kind of stuff that people don't understand. They just think that since you are, you know, a D1 athlete, that everything should be, you know, sparkling, you know, with the candle on top, with as many candles as you like. But it's not like that if, you know, if you don't come from a wealthy family that's able to, you know, make sure that you don't have any distractions off the court, that you can focus on being a student athlete, and not having to be distracted from the outside. And so I think that's one of the things that's very good about this NIL, that, you know, I don't have to worry about anything. I can keep my mind clear and focus on what I have to do. And but, you know, on the other hand, as you know, that portal stuff happens. It hurts it hurts a lot of the younger guys that are coming up. I've seen, just from reclassing guys in the sixth grade. You got guys reclassing in the fifth grade, just because they don't want to run into guys that's in the portal. You know, it's taken away from scholarships. So it's hard to, you know, it's hard to say, you know, if it's good or bad. It has some good things, it has some bad things. But I guess you could say that about anything. It has good and bads. But I guess, you know, it's just new. You got to see where it goes and how it develops. I guess, if it's just not gonna stand here, if it continues to tweak and make adjustments to try to help the guys that are trying to get in, and also help the guys that are already there.
Yeah, I've never really thought of that perspective with the NIL about the kids that may have not had a lot growing up. I was interested to see that perspective, especially from you, a guy who played 4 years at one school. The portal wasn't really a thing, but yeah, it's really nice insight.
But
Appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, that's why you're finding a lot of movement, because, you know, sometimes a guy will takes that risk and leaves home because that's what he has to do. But if some guys, if I can go home and stay home and still able to get to the point that I think that I can get to, and be at home around my family and friends. Some people like that. And that's another thing about the NIL. It does. It gives some that opportunities. Some guys that won't have to go in and go to a big school. Some want to stay at, you know, a small school, and, you know, and around their loved ones and things like that. You know, it allows that. And, you know, that's why you're seeing so much shake up. But if you have that figure in your college basketball system, as far as that head coach who, you know, who has the ability to make these relationships with these guys and keep them around, you don't have to worry about that.
Would you consider it if, let's say, the transfer portal was around, 2009, you're coming off an injury. What's going through your head in this hypothetical situation?
For for me, that would be an easy question, because at that point in my career, I didn't worry about anybody else. Me coming back, I thought that I could still get that team to that same point where, you know, where we were. And I came in, and it was going that way, and then you know, life gives you roller coasters. But I don't think I would have went anywhere. I wasn't, you know, I don't even think that thought would even came into my mind.
Certainly happy to hear that. And I think that'll just about do it here. Appreciate your time, Jerome. I know went a little longer than we expected, but you had some great answers, a lot of great insight. I'm sure the viewers, you guys appreciate it. We certainly appreciated it. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem at all. Like I told you, I love doing these things. Like I said, like one of the I love giving this knowledge out to all the avenues that that you can get it in.
And for the viewers, we got hopefully a few more guests lined up over the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.